What's up? It's Zealand. I know it's been a couple of days, but as you can probably tell, I'm on the run. The authorities, they eventually caught back up with me. They nearly have tracked me down. I mean, I'm down to literally a white wall. I don't even have this. This isn't even working for me right now. This is all we have. Okay, it's a laptop on a chair in front of a white wall. Like the authorities, they've nearly taken everything from me for speaking the truth, for for speaking the unspoken. Okay, they've tried to come in and keep me from doing that, but you know what? They're never going to be able to. But definitely true conspiracy theories aside, I needed to fire up this incredibly jerry-rigged setup while I'm over here in Germany for one reason. Arsenal. Okay, I went out last night, not super hard or anything. I went out to watch the Bayern game because I'm in Munich, just at a bar somewhere. And we go around, we're looking for a bar, and we end up at a place and we settle in. They've got TVs, and for some reason, they put on the Arsenal game on all of the TVs. Right. And at first, I'm sitting here thinking, dang, I really wanted to watch the Bayern game. Like, oh, maybe we're going to move to a different bar or something like that. Right. But as the game started, I realized that something interesting was going on. Okay, this is not unusual for Real Madrid, but I did think it was unusual for a team that is so rarely in this position, or at least has so rarely been in this position in the past, to be able to put themselves in this position again. Of course, I'm talking about Arsenal. And we're going to talk about Bayern and Inter as well, but this is Arsenal's tour de force. Because even in the early point of that game, if you're being honest with yourself, Arsenal was better. I mean, again, Real Madrid does this, but they do this against teams like Manchester City, and then they sneak up and they take it from them at the end. Right? But this is not Manchester City. This is Arsenal. This is a team that even Mikel Arteta, before the game, is sitting there talking about how this is just the most important match he's ever managed at Arsenal. This guy's been in multiple league title races and that have hinged on, one or two moments. That this, having Arsenal all the way back up into a Champions League quarterfinal, playing against the big bad bully, playing against Real Madrid at home, this was the match. It was the match that basically everybody thought that they wouldn't do well at. I mean, there were a couple of people that picked, big Arsenal win, but generally speaking, Real Madrid, this is where their experience, their gravitas, their embodiment of that old Roman adage from a gladiator that's the only way you can win 100% of the game. The adage from the Roman gladiator is the only way you can win 100% of your fights is if the opponent already knows they're beaten, and that's how Real Madrid operates. Right? You go up against them and you're going, oh, we hope we can beat them. Real Madrid knows they can beat you. That's how it always works, and they have firepower. Now, they've got more firepower than they've had since the prime Ronaldo years. Right? They've got more firepower than at least one and probably more of their Champions League winning teams with the guys that they're able to put out on the field. The depth, the quality. This isn't some sort of washed Real Madrid team. Sure, they're being pushed in the league, but they're being pushed in the league by a Barcelona team that is rampant. Okay, that is probably the best offensive team in the entire world. So anybody that's drinking any Kool-Aid saying that Real Madrid is some sort of washed out version of what they've been is drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. Even Kylian Mbappe, dude's got like over 30 goal contributions this year. I think it's over 30 goals this year, right? And he's always having a down year. He was kind of earlier in the year a little inconsistent. Yeah, he plays no defense. He's still arguably the best pure attacking player in the entire world, right? Rolling up against a team that's having to wheel out Mikel Merino as its striker. Arsenal was not supposed to win this game. And when the final whistle blew, and you realize that it was actually 3-0. There wasn't some 15 minutes. Let's be honest. Even when they went up 3-0 with a goal from Mikel Merino, who I realize I just slated, right? We all assumed that there was going to be some sort of magical extra time that just appeared out of nowhere. 15 minutes of extra time in which Real Madrid would score 2 goals and somehow make it a very doable 1-goal deficit. And that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The voodoo magic didn't happen. When I finally realized that was the case, I was floored. Now, obviously, part of that story is Declan Rice. I'm going to get to him and a whole, uh, I'm saving him for later. But I was floored. Teams in the Champions League typically require years and years of build up, and you make this stage and you make this stage, and kind of the way Manchester City went through it, the way Liverpool, when they were crescendoing, went through it, right? Where you make this stage, you make this stage, and you're able to build a progression, right? Of we've now got players with years of experience playing in these matches, and now we have a chance to beat Real Madrid at this stage of the competition. I just, Arsenal's really in its second year of serious contention coming into the Champions League, and there are the quarterfinal. They're reaching for the stars here compared to what this core of players has ever experienced, and it did not phase them. Did not phase them one bit. They were the better team. They deserved to win the game. Real Madrid looked dangerous, but they looked dangerous when they grabbed space on some sort of block shot or some sort of turnover from Arsenal. That's when they looked dangerous. It was galloping forward in those situations. Arsenal was very consistently. I don't try to dive too hard into the tactics. All right, I'm a man talking into freaking headphones up against a white wall, but the left side, Arsenal's ability to exploit the left side and get cutback passes, amazing. Mikel Arteta put on a tactical masterclass. And Real Madrid's let's roll the ball out and aura our way to a win didn't work, which is weird because it basically always does work. And then, of course, there's Declan Rice. I have long been on the boat that Declan Rice is maybe a bit overhyped. He's obviously a good player. Okay, but there are certain defensive midfielders, right, where I feel like they don't really help you win as much as people that are very good at other positions. But if you have somebody that is a primary defensive midfielder that just kind of recycles the ball and helps maintain possession and covers space well, not an N'Golo Kante type, but they cover it kind of well relative to N'Golo Kante. Those types of guys just don't. I don't think they're in the top category of footballers, really. What it comes down to is you'd rather have somebody that was a brilliant striker, a brilliant winger, a brilliant center back, a brilliant 10, right? A brilliant box to box. But that kind of anchor screening, good touch, good brain type player adds value. Don't get me wrong. You'd rather have the best player at that position than the worst. I just don't think they help you win as much. And I believe that Declan Rice was in that category of these players that I've always secretly hated. Not actually hated, but secretly hated on. Because I just feel like they don't have a contribution. And now, lo and behold, in the most important match of Mikel Arteta's managerial career at Arsenal, as he has admitted, the most important match Arsenal's played in 10 years, you could make an argument. He scores 2 free kick goals, which I found this, by the way. We are going to break off the white wall here at some point. Declan Rice being the first player ever to score 2 direct free kick goals in one Champions League knockout match. Ever. Not Messi, not that. What was his name? I got to look it up. Juninho? Is it Juninho? I think it was Juninho. Yeah, it's Juninho. Exactly. Not Messi, not Juninho, not Ronaldo when he was in his freaking prime. Declan Rice, who, by the way, had never scored a direct free kick ever. I didn't know this. I would have assumed that he'd scored, 1 or 2 here or there. He played 338 professional games and never scored a free kick. He plays Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinal. And he didn't just score 2 free kicks. He scored 2 beautiful, beautiful free kicks. I mean, pick that out. Definition of brilliance free kicks. One, he goes around the wall, which that's the sort of mistake that Real Madrid never makes. Thibaut Courtois is probably the best goalkeeper in the world, and his wall wasn't wide enough. Right? Real Madrid's giving up free goals. People also, total different tangent here. People pretend that these sorts of direct free kicks aren't also set piece plays sometimes, unless you see one of those goals like Netherlands against Argentina where they do run a short passing play out of it. But the second goal, even though it was so brilliantly struck and brilliantly placed and the deceptive body movement coming up to the ball for the shot, the work, and I can't show you it obviously because the Champions League will find me faster than the authorities that are searching for me now and cut me to pieces. But there is a 4-man Arsenal wall that is fully screening off everything. And they move right as the shot's coming in, which causes, you can see it, this extra second of delay for Thibaut Courtois. It was beautiful. Like their execution on set piece plays and their discovery that Declan Rice is apparently a guy that can snipe free kicks now. I mean, even though they deserve to win that game, is what's given them this 3-0 advantage. Now, the second leg is going to be diabolical, right? It's going to be an absolutely diabolical tactical display. They're going to start 8 center backs. And I don't know if that's the right strategy, but it probably is. I mean, with the amount of offensive talent that Real Madrid has, maybe you want to draw them in and counter. But they played so well in this first leg, I might try and go out and play that way again. Because Real Madrid, in a way that they very rarely do, has to be questioning some things after that game. Even though 2 of the goals were direct free kicks from Declan Rice, they got outplayed. They got beat. Arsenal went out and beat Real Madrid. And you know what that means? You want to get really uncomfortable for a second? Not that I'm like a particular Arsenal hater, I'm not. But that means Arsenal can win the Champions League. I mean, sure, it was hypothetically, theoretically possible before, but if you can win this game that they just won in the way that they won it, you can win the whole thing. And that would be a paradigm-shifting moment in the history of football to have Arsenal be able to win a Champions League. Now, the other match, Inter and Bayern, surprise result to me. Right, the Italian league has not shown well in all European competitions, but Bayern, stinker. Totally overshadowed by Real Madrid getting smacked around more. But this felt like the Bayern game against Celtic where you're just going, yeah, not there. That oomph just doesn't seem to be there. And I don't think Bayern actually can win the Champions League if they can't find that oomph. They got to find the oomph. They found it a bit in the last round. But that's beating up on whoever the hell they were playing, Leverkusen. But that's familiarity. They've got the aura there. Inter's coming in as we're the best team in Italy. You're the best team in Germany. Let's tap dance, baby. And they took care of business on the road. I'm here. I'm in Munich. I was looking up tickets to that game. That was the game of the year. Talking to German friends. That was the game of the year, obviously, for them. Ticket prices were crazy. Didn't matter. Inter rocked in, got the job done. Couldn't tell you much more than that, though, because only watched a few highlights because I was busy at that other random bar watching the Arsenal game. But boy, you know what? I'm glad in hindsight that was the game that I was watching.